Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And it is a day.
We have lost our minds. It is
before the podcast even starts, we are completely incapable. Incapable is not a word.
It is past our bedtime. We don't know what we're doing. But we are here for you because we love you.
We will be here for you until someday, somehow, something pays me enough money to not want to do this.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, would have to be a lot of money because I genuinely enjoy doing this.
Yes, it's one of my favorite things. Everyone always tells me, they're like, you do so much work. Why don't you cut back on the podcast? I'm like, that is the only sanity I have during the week. I'm like, that's where I get to use my creative thoughts and my creative knowledge. And I just want to be there, be happy with MK and our 7 listeners.
Some of my students asked what I podcast about, and I go, you will never know. They were like, can we find out when we graduate? I go, potentially.
Graduate high school.
I go, but I don't talk in a way or about material that is appropriate for you in any way, shape, or form.
Not at all. Not at all.
First of all, the show started with Hemlock Grove.
Right.
13-year-olds cannot watch that show. And if they do, I genuinely question their parents.
Fair.
And also, I have said things on the show that they never need to know about me.
That is also true. Granted, there are things that probably no one needed to know at some points, but me. And it's fine.
You know, I'm an open book.
I love that about you.
I don't keep secrets, despite the fact that I do many things that should be kept secret.
Look, that's why I love you so much. You keep life interesting. And we always have something to talk about. If that wasn't clear from our past episodes. So how was your week?
A little stressful, just because it's the last week before vacation. So my brain and heart are not in it at all. But I also have so much that I need to get done before vacation that I'm
right.
And the kids are also crazy. They're just as ready to be out of school as I am.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as great as it ever can be as a middle school teacher.
Well, that's a bar some strive to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been a long week. It's Wednesday. Last week was a long week. Just ran together, but had a decent weekend. I worked Saturday night till the wee hours of the morning. I got off at 1. I was so tired. I have my sleep is so broken now. Yes.
What did I do Saturday night? Oh, Saturday night was my best friend's birthday party.
Yes. So I messed up my sleep, but it was fine. My friend Zach, that I've spoken about before, because he's the only person that visits me, came in on Sunday. Well, he came in on Saturday, but I saw him on Sunday. We went to brunch, and we went to the French Embassy, which I've never done before. They have this bookstore called Albertine, and it's got French and English books. And so, in the spirit of the podcast, I found this book called Le Film de ma vie, and it's the films of my life. Yes. The guy's name is Francois Truffaut. It is all in French, and he talks about different renowned films, Scarface is in here. Honestly, that is the only one I can remember when I started talking about this book, but Scarface is in here. And so I'm gonna try and watch some of these films, rewatch them, and then read his discussions about them. Try and get better at French, and this is how. And because I bought that book, I needed to buy a book I had already read in French
to practice your French, obviously.
So I bought Harry Potter. Because that
Fantastic.
book I probably know word for word.
Fantastic. I actually do know the first chapter of that book basically by heart.
Yeah. I know it pretty well. So yeah, and then we went to this place and I may have talked about this last week that called The Lodge in Bryant Park. Did I mention this to you? That was super cute with the Miss Maisel pop-up.
No, you did not.
Oh, well, there's this super cute pop-up in Bryant Park. And so the spot's owned by Prime Video and it's called The Lodge. I've said all of these things 3 times now. But I've been wanting to go, but I was like, it's so cute and cozy. I don't really want to go by myself. So we ended up walking from like 86 down to like 33rd. So we walked a lot in the snow. It was excellent. Love the snow. And so we stopped at Bryant Park and I was like, we also went to the New York Public Library, which I'd never been to before. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling. So we go to Bryant Park and I'm like, let's go get a drink and sit down. And they had like mulled wine and Bailey's or hot cocoa with Bailey's. And so we got our like cozy drinks and settled in. Turns out the company that owns my bar is the one that was also running this event. And so I got my employee discount.
Oh,
Super nice.
that is nice.
Shout out to Stout. Thanks for
Thanks.
discount.
I
Had a very wintry weekend.
Oh, I forgot. I mean, I was just thinking today has been such an insane day that, like, full disclosure, today's Wednesday. The podcast is supposed to come out on Wednesdays and it fully is not coming out on Wednesday, which you will already know when you listen to this, because I literally didn't know it was Wednesday despite fully knowing it was Wednesday.
I also didn't know it was Wednesday until I texted you and said, we're meeting tonight, right? Because I thought it was Tuesday.
No, like I knew I had to record tonight and we go to mass at school on Wednesdays. So like I knew it was Wednesday all day, but I didn't know it was Wednesday. So
Speaking
I didn't even
know it was Wednesday. I just realized I was supposed to have a meeting today at 2:00 that I did not go to.
you win this one.
9:00 at night. I just realized I didn't make it to my 2:00 meeting that was supposed to be today.
You win the fucking Today Up award.
There we go.
I was so busy thinking about how terrible today was that I forgot that I had a really good weekend.
You look like you had a really good one. We haven't really talked about it, but I saw you lots of time with Brittany.
Yeah, so Brittany is back from South Africa and her birthday was last week. So we went out for Mexican. On Saturday, we had mango margaritas. It was fantastic.
I love mango.
Right. And so it was me and Brittany, and then Brittany's other best friends, Meg and Renee, and then Meg's fiance, Zach. And so the 5 of us, we had dinner, and then we went bowling.
Ooh.
I had the highest game of the night with a 153, which is not that impressive, but I was very proud of myself.
Did you say 153?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not that impressive. Yeah, it's half. But it was the highest of the night and we were all drinking. So like,
oh, yes. That's excellent then.
Yeah. And then Sunday was Galentine's Day. So we went to the botanical gardens and took pictures and had make your own waffles and then just went out to lunch and hung out and it was great. And then I went home and I watched the Super Bowl with my parents and I won my work Super Bowl pool for halftime and the final.
What was your halftime bet?
It was the same numbers. So because the game halftime was 13-10 and then final was 23-20. So it was 3-0 both times. So I won the whole day.
Nice.
So I have money to put in my gas tank when I drive to Florida on Friday.
To spend money on things in New York.
I will hopefully not be spending that much money in New York.
I hope you're not either, because then I would be also spending that much money and not good for me. I think we've paid for most things we're going to pay for. Before.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was a good weekend and a good week. It's been a long week, even though it's Wednesday, but it hasn't been a bad week.
Okay. Sure, if you say so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying every podcast. I'm like, everything sucks. I'm so tired. It's the longest week of my life. And I'm trying to be positive today.
Look, since Sunday, everything has sucked and I'm tired. So it's fine. My mood will be better next time around.
You know what didn't suck?
What is that?
Dead Like Me.
Nice. You nailed it.
We watched Dead Like Me season 2, episode 13.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if that. I'm sorry. I set my notebook down and started just pushing buttons on my computer.
Perfect. This episode was called Last Call, which now that I've watched it and I like know what it's about, it's so depressing. It came out on October 17th, 2004, and it was rated 8.5 stars, which is the highest of the entire series so far. Not of the entire series. It does get higher, but 8.5 is the highest so far. The number one song is still Goodies, and the number one movie is still Shark Tale. Which, disclaimer, I realized while driving home from work the other day, and I almost went live on Instagram to apologize, because I said that the number one DreamWorks movie was Shrek, which is still true. And the number 2 was Shark Tale, which is still true. But then I said that the number 3 was Despicable Me. And that is such an affront to Kung Fu Panda that I can't even believe it came out of my mouth.
Is Illumination part of DreamWorks? I thought it was separate. But I did want to correct you last time because you sounded so confident that I decided I was wrong.
Is Illumination part of DreamWorks?
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I just accepted what you said. I haven't seen all of it.
Yes, Illumination Entertainment DreamWorks. It's all the same thing.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Yes.
I wasn't sure. Good to know.
Yes.
I've only seen the first.
Well, here's the thing. They're both owned by Universal. That's how I knew that they were the same company. But
Gotcha.
Yes. So technically not the same animators, but the same company.
Right.
But again, while Despicable Me is fantastic, I cannot believe I affronted Kung Fu Panda in that way.
I don't know.
I have like a giant, like pillow-sized Poe stuffed animal that my high school boyfriend got me.
That's precious. That came out when we were in high school?
Yes. We're that fucking old.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. It was directed by Steve Beers, who is returning. And the story was by John Massius and Stephen Godshaw, and the teleplay was by Stephen Godshaw and Annie Weissman. So our friends. There were 2 guest stars. I only took notes on one of them because I'm an idiot. The two guest stars in the credits were Katie Stewart and Aaron Paul. Neither one of them was in any significant amount of this episode. No, it's not. It is not. His name is Aaron Paul, but it is not that Aaron. It is not the kid from Breaking Bad.
Who is this guy then? Is it spelled the same?
Yes, maybe. I am like 98% sure that guy that I wrote down the correct name.
Because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. As soon as I said it, I was like, that can't possibly be what I actually meant to write. But I think it was. So now I'm going to have to look it up, and I'm going to have to vamp for time.
I will fact check you. You can tell me about the other one.
Well, Katie Stewart is the one I actually took notes on. And Katie Stewart was the young girl who died in the first scene. So like that is why I was like, well, that's a person. And sorry, that's because I can't read my notes. His name is Aaron Pearl.
Yes, that is a different person.
The ER in my notes looks like a U. So I just can't read.
Yes, that's okay. He also means nothing to me. So it's fine.
So Katie Stewart was in the 100. She was in Inconceivable. She was in The Crow, the TV show. And the only note I have about Aaron Pearl was that one of the trivia facts for this episode is that Katie Stewart and Aaron Pearl have both appeared in single episodes of Stargate SG-1.
Excellent.
Did not look him up, so I don't know anything else he ever did.
I just looked him up. He's not great. I mean,
fantastic.
I'm sure he's fine.
Fantastic. The blurb says, Mason and Daisy try to keep Ray's death a secret. Mason receives a purple post-it, possibly his final reap, before moving off. Roxy investigates Ray's disappearance, questioning Daisy. George attends another going-away party at Happy Time. Reggie accidentally lets JD out and searches for the dog. And once again, the blurb has given you the entire episode. Have a good day.
Yes.
In fact, there were so many things that happened in this episode that I was like, I would genuinely be shocked and confused right now if the blurb hadn't already told me that was going to happen.
See, I never read the blurb until after I've watched it.
I don't when I'm not taking notes on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But then I do when I'm the one taking notes on the episode.
I see. I like to get my first reaction.
Which if I was still watching episodes twice before recording, I might. Like when we did Hemlock Grove, I always watched the episode once, took notes, and then watched it again. But I don't have time for that in my life anymore. So
that's fair. I studied for the bar. I'm excellent at taking notes first time around for videos. That's what I did for my life for a year and a half. So
yeah,
that's why I went to law school, so I could do this podcast for you guys.
Oh. My students were like, you're going to get your third degree soon, aren't you? And I go, soon? Do you know how many TV shows I still have to watch? And they were like, oh, that's true. Are you caught up yet? And I just started laughing. I was like, what?
Caught up to what? Every TV show that's ever existed? Because no, I am
not. So we start the episode off with George at a boot camp for a reap. And I was immediately taken aback by the chants that the soldiers were saying while they were running.
Mm-hmm.
Because they involved things about moms being whores and dads being, or then somebody being a porn star and a brother and a sister boning each other. And I was like, I think you're trying to explain to me that men are crude and like inappropriate. But I know a lot of soldiers, and while they say inappropriate things like this, their boot camp drill songs are not just like straight up like misogyny. Right.
Yes, I agree. I feel the same way. I was like, this is very strange. I don't know where these came from, but that's okay.
But her reap was a female cadet. And the female cadet is going to be the first female to get over the wall at boot camp. And she succeeds.
Bless her heart.
For immediately dying.
Yes.
And George is like the least pleasant human
in all of existence.
Like, I was so just frustrated because I was like, this girl is just trying to figure out what being dead is like. And George is like so rude.
Yeah.
We also get to my first trivia of the moment in here. Because once again, the rules of being dead, inconsistent as shit.
Always.
Because George tells the dead girl that one of the perks of being dead is that you can drink as much tequila as you want and never have a hangover. But 4 episodes ago, when Mason was being sober, he clearly said that the best part of being sober was not having a hangover. So, like, can dead people get hangovers?
Here we go again, being inconsistent.
My desire to get rid of all plot holes just says that Mason was never really hungover. He was just always still drunk. So he didn't know that he wasn't hungover because like he didn't have time to heal because he was still fucked up. Like that's my like attempt at rewriting their plot holes. But there's still plot holes.
Mm-hmm. There's plenty of them. Don't worry. There's more to come.
Always. Then we go to the diner where Mason is very, very much struggling with this guilt over killing
This whole
Ray.
rape situation.
And we see that Tiffany is just like, all right, he's weird. Moving on. Like she is so just chill with Mason being fucking weirdo that I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And while we're at the diner, we see that Reggie and Clancy are also at their Waffle House. And Clancy
Before you
immediately.
get to there,
Yeah.
we skipped a few things Mason said that I brought me
Okay.
joy. So one of the things he's talking about, he says, when Daisy's like, you have to lie, but just make it a little bit. He's like, when you have to lie, you have to remember. And I'm like, that's exactly why I don't lie. I don't remember anything. Like, not a chance.
Well,
And then
that's why he gets so upset about trying to make up this lie. He was like, I was bowling. I pulled a 360.
yes. I thought that was very relevant to your life this week. So
I actually had that thought while I was watching the episode. I was like, hey, I went bowling this year.
I love it.
But so Daisy has to go powder her nose, and she's like, I'm going to the restroom. Mason's like, where are you going? She's like, don't be needy. I'm going to the bathroom. And I was like, I have never related so much to Daisy in my life. Like, do I love Mason? Yes. Would I also kill someone who is that clingy? Also, yes.
Yes. Also, yes.
But when she gets up, she passes Reggie and Clancy, who are at their Waffle House, and Clancy immediately hits on Daisy in front of Reggie.
Shocking. I'm shocked.
And I got so uncomfortable, not with the hitting on, with the what the fuck is going to happen if George walks in.
Yes. I had the same thought.
I literally was like, I'm not okay. What if George walks in? No.
But don't worry.
Don't worry. Rube walks in first. And Rube, who is the only one who actually knows who George's family is, immediately plays Papa Bear.
Yep.
Like, so hard. He's like, we're moving. And they were like, you like this table? He's like, nope.
Not today.
And then Mason is hardcore unraveling. Roxy asks where Daisy is, and he's like, why the fuck would I know where Daisy is? I don't know where she is. I'm not her keeper. Like, why would I know where Daisy is? And Rube's like, where is she? In the bathroom. Like,
yeah.
Calm down.
Right.
And then my first favorite moment of dialogue, because this episode, the dialogue in the beginning of this episode was just hands down my favorite so far. I think it might be one of the reasons why the episode's rated so high is because it is hysterical.
It is. Yep.
Rube goes, are you hitting the bottle again? No, just coffee. Irish? No, I'm English.
Which is funny because the Irish and English hate each other.
I know, but also Irish coffee is obviously
right.
Like, I was like, the level of wordplay and like subtle cultural nuance that is happening right now is.
But Mason has no idea because he never catches on when things have meanings.
None.
And I love it.
And I don't remember what happened next. Oh, yes, I do. Somebody says something, and Rube gets very angry because that's what Rube does. Somebody says something dumb, and Rube gets very angry. I don't actually remember what the situation was, but I wrote, in this case, only in this case, I am not mad at Rube's unnecessary anger toward Mason.
Well, that's because Mason was talking about something and something being a joke. And Roxy just looks at him and she goes, you are that kind of joke.
Oh, no. That is not quite yet because I do have a note about that too. I don't remember what it was, but it was something. Rube was obviously angry because he was still trying to play the puzzles. And then one of the most beautiful camera shots, George walks in, and as she's getting called over, her family walks behind her and she like just misses them, but she's also wearing like the nicest outfit she's ever had, and it's like a really light floral, like angelic pink, and so it just looks chef's kiss.
Yes.
And then George says one of my favorite lines, because I usually don't find George that funny, but she said, reaping a winner just makes me feel like a loser.
Yep. I know. I was like, that's so fair though.
And then Rube is like extra on edge because between the George thing and his life and Mason being a fucking crackhead, like he just can't handle it. And then they're trying to figure out what's going on with Daisy and Ray, and Roxy makes an inappropriate joke. And Rube goes, I don't care for that kind of joke. And she goes, you are that kind of joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and I literally had to pause it. I was laughing so hard. I was like, why is this episode so funny? 5 minutes in, and it's the funniest episode so far.
Yes, it was one of my complaints. One of my complaints about the upcoming episodes. They're so good in the last ones. And I don't know why we didn't start at this level before.
Right. The last like 5 or 6 episodes of season 2 have been so good. And I'm trying to figure out why it got canceled. Like, no, or when it got canceled.
I meant to look that up again. I keep saying that and I keep not looking it up.
But no, but
like
every time I've looked it up, I haven't been able to find a solid answer.
I'll look again and see if I can
Maybe I'll ask Reddit because they know things there.
They do know things there.
And then they pass out Post-it notes. Mason's Post-it note is purple. I wrote ? About that.
Mm-hmm.
George is being a sad sack again, and I don't know what she said, but I was like, George, shut up.
I also don't remember what she said. She was talking about like it being her last day on Earth, and
she's just being so depressed about how boring her last day on Earth was, and I was like, stop being a sad sack. And then she started talking about how purple was her favorite color when she was a kid, and I was like, hey, purple's my favorite color. Unnecessary note, but I put it on. And then Daisy and Mason are like having a weird moment, and George is always, and George is confused by it.
She doesn't know yet.
Then we go to Happy Time, where Dolores is preparing us once again for a Happy Time going away party.
I just said this is the most terrifying closet I've ever seen.
And then Misty is there, because why isn't Misty there? And Dolores calls Misty Pumpkin. George is obviously confused. George is obviously confused, but I was also confused because my note says, how is Misty Dolores's pumpkin? But last time we saw her, she was sleeping with Dolores's former coworker with benefits, but now she's also making out with random dudes in the closet, and Dolores like unfazed by it.
Right.
I'm confused about Dolores's priorities as a boss.
You know, we learned that she's got her mind on other things. So maybe she's just not worried about Misty because she is getting ready to have her own date because she's back on the dating platforms.
Which is fantastic for her, but like your employees are making out in front of you.
Yeah, I think she's just not paying attention. She's talking about her new love interest who, quote unquote, types like a jackal. And I was like,
I find that to be so incredibly funny, like in a way that I don't think I should. Like, I think I should be perturbed by it, but I'm like, next time a guy like slides into my DMs or like messages me on a dating app, I'm just gonna be like, you type like a jackal, just to see how they react to it, to gauge whether they will get me.
That might make me go on a dating app just to test that theory out.
Like, if you are confused by it, okay. If you go with it, like just go with it, I will probably meet you in real life.
I probably won't still, but that's fine. I don't like people. I do not have time for others.
And George decides that she will help Dolores plan this party because she's going to live vicariously through Dolores's ability to date.
Right.
Which
that sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going jousting and typing like jackals. That's how we date like Dolores.
So Roxy and Mason go on their reap. It's really just Roxy's reap. Mason is just going with her because
he's nervous about life.
He can't be alone right now, and Daisy clearly can't handle being around him, and
Yeah.
George had to go to work. Like, I can't figure
Right.
out.
But it's so weird seeing Roxy in a t-shirt
I
because
hated
we're
it.
used to seeing her like
In
more
uniform.
like in a uniform of sorts, any of them.
Yeah.
And she is like just hanging out like a regular person. I was like, this is very strange.
But their Reap is at a sports bus, and obviously, in truest Mason form, Mason immediately finds the stoners.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
And Roxy asks Daisy about Daisy and Ray, and Mason is like, she dumped him because she's in love with me.
Yeah.
And Roxy's like, I do not buy that theory at all. And I was like, okay, but like she is.
Right.
Like that is
Yeah.
offensive of you to suddenly like to hate Mason so much that you can't believe that Daisy would be in love with him when like clearly they're in love.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you noticed it, but this school is the same one that the cheerleaders from the jail went to.
Oh my
It's the
God,
sea
I
turtles.
didn't notice it. I knew that I recognized the sea turtle like logo,
Yeah.
but I didn't put it together at all. Of
It was the
course.
girls from jail. So I thought, so this is one thing that I really liked about this episode. I know that it's so inconsequential, but like I love little ties that stay throughout an episode. That is my favorite thing about a
Yeah.
show that's a running series where it doesn't matter, but it's held over for multiple episodes. And I'm like, if they could have done this now, they could have done this before. And I know that Stephen Gosh, I was only writing this one. Like he's only been writing this season mostly, a little bit of last season. But like he's been there long enough that he could have incorporated stuff from the first season.
But like even things like having Misty come back a couple times, like just to show that like not every employee at Happy Time is a fucking nobody.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no, I totally get it. Then we go. We skipped. We didn't talk about what Reggie and Clancy were talking about in the diner because I was too busy being grossed out about him hitting on Daisy. But they were talking about how Joy is out of town. And so after school, Reggie was going to have to be home alone for a little bit because Clancy's class did not end early enough to pick her up from school. And she was like, it's fine. I'm 12. I can be home by myself. But she is home by herself and she's being a dumbass because she's 12 and she is an idiot. And she's trying to have an ice cream party with her dog. And nosy neighbor Claire comes over and just puts her nose in other people's business.
I had a lot of things to say to Reggie. I said, you can't give a dog chocolate, you lunatic. Don't open the door when you're home alone. And it doesn't matter if it's low-fat chocolate or not. These are all things that don't matter.
Yeah. I was mad at Reggie for giving the dog chocolate, but I was more mad at nosy neighbor Claire for coming over and trying to be up in Reggie's business.
I definitely agree. And I think Reggie shouldn't have opened the door.
Agreed. For sure.
You're not supposed to.
I never would have opened the door for my neighbor when I was home alone when I was 12.
I don't open the door now for my neighbor. And I'm not 12. Although I am glad my neighbor opened the door for me tonight because as soon as I stepped outside, I realized I forgot my keys.
Oh, no. I was taking
Sadie for a walk. So I like pushed the button. I saw my neighbor like step out of his door and look at me and then like let me in. I was like, thank you.
I literally don't even know my neighbors.
I know like 3 of their names, but I know most of them.
I have conversed with one of my neighbors once, and it was to talk to the police after the drive-by shooting in front of his house.
Well, that is a time to do it. That's a time for sure.
Yeah. Then we go back to Happy Time, and Millie and Dolores and Crystal are working together to set up Brian's surprise, quote unquote, going away party. Which is dumb because it's
no one even knows who Brian is. Yeah.
Right. But Crystal continues to be my favorite character because Millie is explaining why she doesn't like Brian because he has a soggy handshake, and her and Crystal are like having a whole conversation via like eyebrow raises and like gestures, and Dolores is just like, why am I even here?
My question is to Dolores. She says, weak handshakes, what do they equal? She has small gloves. I was like, what? That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't.
Like,
Unless you're saying a weak handshake equals a small glove, because a small glove equals a small penis.
yeah, but like you could still have a not weak handshake, I feel like.
Yeah, but like maybe she is equating weak handshakes with little dick energy.
Maybe so. Who knows? Look, it's Dolores. Who knows?
I mean, and she did just have a date with a man who types like a jackal, so she's probably got glove size on her mind.
Probably so. Look, she's always got it on her mind. So
Not as much as Misty, but pretty close.
I think she used to be Misty in a past life.
I agree. I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Back
Can
in
we
her
go-
days.
When she was sleeping with homeless men and getting arrested.
Yes, and the coworker. Mm.
Then we go back to Dare Waffle House, and we find out that Tiffany is a psychic.
And I have a lot of questions. For Tiffany specifically, I would like to speak with her.
Yeah, I do fully believe that Tiffany is a psychic and knows everything that's going on.
Yes, 100%.
Especially because of something that she says later in the episode, but we will move on for the moment. But Mason is asking her for a palm reading, and he's like, I'll pay you $10. And she goes, but you only have $2 in your pocket. And he pulls out 2 single-dollar bills. And he was like, and then he's looking around, and everything in the restaurant is pointing to the end. Like the last napkin and an empty milkshake and like all of these things that are just like the end. And he's like, nope, that's it. This purple post-it note means today's my last day. I'm gonna die.
I also want to comment on something he said when he's talking to Tiffany, and she's like, your hands are so dirty. You need to, like, those paws are filthy. And he goes, it's just blood. And it's not like it's mine. I was like, why would you say that to someone? Well, I would 100% say it was my blood if there was blood on me. Like, I don't care whose it is. Like, that is insane. And she just lets it go. Doesn't even acknowledge it.
So then, do you have another comment about Tiffany and Mason?
I do. It's when he's seeing all of the end things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's my last day or whatever. And she says, you'll see a crescent moon in the daylight on your last day. And she's like, do you see a crescent moon in the daylight? He's like, no. And she goes, then it's not your last day. And
but then she also says there's nothing but the same gray drizzly sky. And I was like, you can't see shit in the sky in Seattle. It's never going to be his last day.
I mean, it's never going to be his last day, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, but like here, you'll see a moon in the sky during the day in the second most or in the most overcast city in America.
Right. Then you know it's the end of the world. That's how they tell you.
It's everybody's last day.
Exactly. Everyone goes at once.
Then we go to George and Daisy's house, where Daisy is being depressed because that's what Daisy does.
Like, I feel it.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, her boyfriend did just try to assault her and then get immediately murdered by her one true love and turn into a graveling. So, like, I get it. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But Roxy arrives because she is investigating Ray's disappearance.
Yup.
And Roxy and Daisy have a very heated and coded conversation where Roxy fully knows Daisy's lying.
Oh my gosh. Roxy knows everything.
Right. But like there's a 0% chance that Roxy thinks that Daisy doesn't know where Ray is.
No.
But I couldn't in this moment figure out how she felt about it.
In this moment, I agree. I also could not figure out how she felt.
I was like, is she mad? Is she upset? Is she like, whose side is she on? Like I in this moment, I was fully like, what is Roxy's next move? Because I don't know.
I think in this moment that I felt like she was upset about it, but I don't think it's for the reason they made it seem like it was. Like, she's acting like she's put out, she's upset because she's looking for this thing. And I think she realizes what happened and she knows that it's really gonna like be bad for Mason and Daisy.
Well, I think part of it is that she's upset that, because remember how much she struggled with killing somebody even though she was doing her job. She knows what that feels like, and she hates that they're going to feel it, and she hates that they were in a position where they had to do that, because she knows better than to think that they would just do it.
Right.
But that's like a lot to process.
Yeah, and I think they wanted to portray her as potentially being upset about it, like, because like, oh no, the people I know killed someone. But I think it was really because she was upset for them, not about them.
Yes, I think she was upset for them, but I also think that she was upset that she was going to be in a position where she would have to lie. Because I do think that she's like, I like the moment of having to clean up their mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I do think that was part of it.
I think that's fair.
Then we go to Brian's farewell party, which proves definitively that all men are shit.
All of them. 100% across the board.
Except
the 4 J names we mentioned.
No. Except, I was going to say except Mason and Rube, but like all other men.
Yes.
Actually, literally no man on the show has not been shit except Mason and mostly Rube.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Because Brian is trying to steal Dolores's wallet.
Mm-hmm.
George attacks him and is like, what do you think you're doing? And he's like, yeah, it's not what it looks like. And she was like, what is it? He goes, okay, fine. I was stealing it, but it's not what you think. I'm diabetic.
It's like, what?
Oh.
And that's exactly what she says.
And then she asks Dolores permission to kick him out. Mm-hmm. And Dolores says yes, but watch the language. So she says, get the F out of here before I kick your effing A again. And then she is like, I can't believe that happened. And Dolores goes, I can't believe it either. If I would have known he was diabetic, I would have got a special cake. I was like, also, Dolores is an absolute fucking idiot.
Yes. I also want to talk about how this scene was shot, because it was a disaster. I hated every minute of it. I was like, this is the dumbest scene we've had in this entire show. When she's chasing him through, like, it's like they watched Mean Girls and they were like, you remember that animal scene by the waterfall, like by the water fountain? Let's see if we can recreate that with just George acting like an animal and Brian trying to escape. And it's not going to make any sense because that's not what this show is about. We've never shot a scene like this, so it's going to look really out of place. But let's do it anyways.
Yeah.
That is exactly how I felt. I was watching it while I was on my lunch break, and I looked at it, and I was just like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, I said it out loud to my phone. I was like,
yeah. Fantastic.
It was, sometimes they do fun camera things. The past few episodes with this one, and then with the weird shot with Joy's jewelry and stuff, they're making some choices that, again, I would not make.
Yeah. We go back to the last house where JD is very sick because, as we've already stated, dogs can't eat fucking chocolate.
Yes.
And then we go to an undisclosed location where Mason is having a motherfucking yard sale.
And I don't know if you had your subtitles on when you were watching this.
I did, but I was taking vigorous notes, so I don't know what I missed.
So while he's talking and all of these things are happening, he's trying to sell everything. In the background, I couldn't very much hear it, but I saw it in my subtitles. Someone just goes, honey, the handcuffs. And then they never hear them again. was like, what?
Fantastic. My note, I wrote like a paragraph because I was like, Mason's having a yard sale. That was my note. But then I go, but I'm unsure where this is. Because I thought he lived in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very, very confused.
I also was confused.
And then the yard sale continues, and he, again, is completely unable to relate to human beings and tries to sell a mattress covered in blood and gunshots.
Oh, it's gunshots.
And then the woman whose house it is returns home.
I assumed they were dead.
And I go, oh, that makes sense. But he is so funny. She was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm having a lawn sale. And she was like, yeah, but that's my lawn. He goes, I didn't know you had to own the lawn to have a lawn sale. There's nothing illegal about that. And she goes, no, but actually there is. And he was like,
yeah.
Oh, shit. You learn something new every day.
And he just tries to sell her everything in her own yard. He's like, $250, and I'll be gone. She's like, oh, Mason. But I did like when he's talking to the priest who won't bless him, he tells him he's going to throw in the kitchen guillotine. And I was like, that's another good throwback.
Oh, no, that was the couple. That was the couple from with the mattress.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But I was like, we've had 2 good throwbacks in this episode that were good callbacks that made sense.
My favorite was that the priest fully bought the bong, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, those priests.
He was like, how much for this incense burner? Then we go back to happy time where they pass out all the cake from Brian's going away party, even though they're not having a going away party. And George is like trying to compliment Dolores on the cake. And Dolores is like, one day I'm going to have to write your name on one of these goodbye cakes. And I was like, bitch, didn't Millie already have a going away party?
Right. Yes, that already happened once.
Yep. And then George goes back to her desk, and surprise, surprise, Mason is sitting at her desk eating cake. And she's like, first of all, why are you here? Second of all, I didn't even get a piece of cake. How did you get a piece of cake? Third of all, why are you here?
Yeah.
Turns out Crystal gave Mason cake because they're still friends.
Because why wouldn't they be?
Right. And then I cried. Because Mason is so sure he's going to die. And he has the biggest heart. And he's like, George, the best thing about you is that you don't care and you get close to everyone and you love everyone. And I don't want you to stop doing that for a minute. I love you so much, Georgie. And he just plants a kiss on her and it's like, you are perfect. And I was like,
I know. And he also had a really good line, which is a hashtag title of the episode. She says, have you been drinking? He says, of course I've bloody been drinking, and it's last call. And I was like, is it last call?
I was pretty confident going into this episode that it wasn't actually Mason's episode, but then when he gave this speech, I go, holy shit, is this actually Mason's last episode? I don't think I can handle this.
What I did. That was the exact emotion I had.
I was like, I thought he was in the whole thing, but now I'm emotional.
Right. Yes, correct.
Then JD ran out of the yard and Reggie is looking for him. And that we just have a moment of Reggie looking for him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then, as if I wasn't already in fucking love with Mason, he goes to Daisy to say goodbye. And in the beginning, when they had been talking about how they wanted to spend their last days, Daisy says that she wished that she had spent her last day getting a diamond ring put on her finger because, Daisy's a hopeless romantic. And so Mason, we see this montage of Mason doing what looks like a secret drug deal and all the money that he's sold and everything. But he was actually buying a ring, a pawn shop, a diamond. And he gave it to Daisy and he put it on her finger and he was like, "You are perfect." Like he was literally that guy from Love Actually with a sign that was like, "To
Yes.
me, you are perfect." And she was like, "I'm not this kind of girl. I will never take your ring." And he was like, "Well, and I will never take it back."
And she says, I can never grow with anyone, not with you. And I was like, why? Why can't you grow
No,
with me?
well, because they can't grow old. They're never gonna grow
Well, that's
old.
fine, but they can live together forever.
But they're
Yes. You don't have to be old to be together.
I'm sorry. My dad is getting ready to go to Gallifrey One, which is a Doctor Who Comic Con, and he's showing me all his cosplays. So he keeps like
Ooh.
walking by and just like showing me and then leaving again. So if I
Wow.
make weird faces, that's what's going on. But no, I literally feel about Mason the way people feel about the "To Me You Are Perfect" signs. Like that is I just
I feel more about Mason than I do the way that people feel about the "To Me You're a Perfect" sign.
I will be single forever until a man loves me the way Mason loves Daisy Adair.
Oh, preach. Preach. Ugh. God bless him. I love Mason so much.
Um,
Unfortunately, we have to move on.
Yeah, I could talk about Mason forever. But then, because of Mason's speech,
All of my caps letters for the next thing that happens.
my next speech part is that in Mason's goodbye speech to George, he said that she should not forget her family. So, George, Mason is perfect in terms of romantic charms, but in terms of intellectual advice, he's lacking a little bit.
Yes.
But George was like, "Fuck it. I trust the man who put a drill in the back of his head. I'm
Well,
going to go
okay.
visit my family."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she's checking in on Reggie when she sees Charlie.
And at this moment, I put in all caps. I told you ages ago I would be so mad if JD died. I don't know if you remember, but in episode what, like 5, I was like, I'm gonna be pissed if they kill JD. And you were like, they just got him. I was like, I don't care ever.
That's true. But this is where another piece of trivia for the episode comes in. That JD died the exact same way that Quinn died before she gave JD to George.
Oh, you're right.
But Charlie reaped JD, and George is freaking out, and she's like, "Please take it back, like do anything but." And he was like, "But it's too late. It already happened."
I did think, as much as I hate that this scene exists, this scene was shot really well.
It was beautiful.
It was exactly how you needed it to be to draw the emotion you needed, because you have that brief moment of hope when you see the dog come out from behind the car, even though you know in your heart it's too late.
Then he runs through
Reggie, and it's just like I'm getting chills.
And he doesn't even stop to see George, even though George can see him. He just runs with Charlie because like he's a dog and his soul is just dog soul. Like,
mm-hmm.
And
that was devastating and really well done.
Yeah.
So kudos.
Then I don't know exactly what the next thing that happens was, because my next note says Mason is sure he's on his last post-it. I don't know what moment that was.
I don't know, but my next note says I'm about to quit the podcast because JD has died and now Mason's on his last post-it and I'm just done.
I don't remember. I don't remember who he's saying goodbye to now or like what happened, but he's like super confident.
Yeah.
And then we go to the house where George is like crying to Daisy because her dog just died, and Daisy is being a bitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, Daisy is too messed up to be a good friend to George right now.
Truly.
Which just PSA. PSA. I always like to throw in a good mental health PSA every once in a while. If you are in a bad place and you don't have enough energy to care for yourself, that you can't also care for other people, save your friends the trouble. Like, and I don't mean that to be like obviously, like, reach out if you need help. But if you aren't able to put in the energy to be a friend, just remove yourself from the people who need you to give them that energy.
Right.
And hope that it would then be vice versa. Like you have friends that can handle that balance.
Yes.
But
you
like,
have to figure out who is your balance that time. If you're not in a good space, you need someone who's in a good space and can handle that.
Right. And like,
and
obviously George and Daisy will make up because they have to, because they're dead and have no other friends. Right. But like, if you're going through something and your friend is also going through something, probably not the two friends who should be talking to each other in that moment. Like,
yes.
But then it turns out that Ray's graveling just won't leave the house.
It was like, what? It's like,
and
does he not have a job to do? Don't they have jobs too?
And he is harassing Daisy. And Daisy is shit-faced drunk because she can't handle Ray's graveling harassing her. And so she tells George everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next note says, fuck Claire. Because we go back to the last house where Clancy is trying to console, that's the word I couldn't put in my brain, console Reggie, and he's like, it's nobody's fault that the dog is dead, and Reggie's like, yes it is, it's Claire's fault, she didn't close the gate. And I was like, this woman. Granted, my anger was not justified,
right? But also, like, we didn't have Joy in this whole episode. And Reggie's like, I want Mom. And I was like, me too. I was like, I also want Joy.
Yes. Then my next note says, why are the rapes always so nice?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, you have more about
the scene it's about character description. My favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So Clancy in this scene proved just what a terrible character he is, and he didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
No, he didn't do anything wrong today, but he's been in so much of this show that we should have felt something towards him, whether it be anger, whether it be caring. And like when he starts talking about all this, and it's like, this is the moment that we're supposed to redeem him. Clearly, I assume that we're supposed to redeem him because he's taking care of Reggie. He's on her side and he's upset about the dog. And I felt nothing.
I get that. I do. I don't disagree. I just didn't think it mattered as much as I think it did for you. I don't. Well, this is not a spoiler alert because it's not going to come to real life. My first book, I've decided to get rid of one of my characters because he's not important and he takes away from the story. And so I've been wrestling with that for 2 weeks now. And so when I see a character like Clancy, it's like it feels like the way I wrote out my character, I wanted them to be in my book so bad that I just made them there. And by the end, they literally were just standing there during the middle of the climax. And I was like, you're not important. And that's kind of how I feel about Clancy, is that someone just wanted him to be here to make the story whole so that there was still the mother, father, sister were still part of the world. I disagree.
I don't care for him.
I disagree because I believe that occasionally it is appropriate to have characters that exist only as plot devices. And without him being a jack off, we wouldn't get a lot of the character development we get for Joy and Reggie.
I think that's true. I just think that also he's not the necessary character to create that imbalance. Like, it could have been anyone in his place. It didn't have to be him. And
no, which is fair. I'm not saying that his development in and of itself was worth anything. I don't think of him as like a two-dimensional character. I think of him as a one-dimensional plot device type character, which isn't ideal, but is sometimes necessary.
And I think when he first started going out of the show, they didn't have to bring him back. I think that they could have finished the rest of the show without him, and they could have created the same effect they needed without it being Clancy. And I think one of the reasons...
Okay, that's fair. In the later episodes, he definitely was not as important. I don't think that his complete existence was useless.
I mean, I don't think it was completely useless, I guess. Maybe it was a little harsh to say it that way. Because in the beginning, he did have a reason to be there.
Yeah.
But I think when he stopped having a reason to be there, maybe he should have stopped being there. Instead, they kept, because I feel like there were other characters that gave the same like feeling. Like we had Angelo, who gave the same like paternal feeling, going out, going kite, like doing kite stuff. And then we had the grandmother who came in and caused like some tension and everything. And so like you can get some of these other points without having him be there.
And here's where I think it goes back to inconsistent writing, because I think that the one relationship that you're overlooking is the George and Clancy relationship, which again had moments that it was really important. And I think George grieving the relationship with her father and him not being who she thought he was is super important, except that they then wobble on her character development so much.
I definitely agree with that, because I think that I would have felt differently had they developed that relationship like they should have.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that goes back to like, for a while, it was necessary for him to be there, but now it doesn't feel that way anymore. And maybe that's why I feel that way. That would make sense. So I'm just saying.
Okay.
That was the character issues.
Yeah. But speaking of my character issues, the only characters I ever like are the Reeves. Because Mason goes to the woods to meet his purple Post-it note Reap, and this man is just the sweetest, kindest man. And they have a moment. And then Mason explains everything about what being a Reaper is and why he's there. And I said, Mason, I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it.
I said the same thing. I was like, stop telling people it's their last day before they die. And also, Mason always super befriends everyone he reaps.
Which again, I mean, Daisy does the same thing in a different way. Like, it's that Mason might seem like it's that whole thing. It's the reason why I get so mad that everybody calls him a fuck up, because he might be a little dirty and he might be a little drunk and he might not be the best, like with finances or hygiene or being a good friend, but he gets his job done and he does it in a way that like is beautiful in a different way.
And this is where I find character consistency and character development done well. And so if you're looking, that's why I'm looking at two ends of the spectrum. I put Clancy on one and Mason on the other, essentially.
Right.
And like
Mason is so well done.
And he's, even when he seems like he doesn't care and he's not like, he's like on one of his moods or whatever, these are the little moments where you're like, he always cares. No matter what's happening, he always cares.
If Clancy is a one-dimensional character, Mason is a 16-dimensional character.
Exactly.
Like, we get everything about why he does what he does and how he does what he does. And like, it is.
And it's not like it's just handed to us like Mason is kind. It's like showed to us through these type of scenes. And this is probably the most consistent, well done part of the show is Mason's development.
Absolutely. Then we go back to their Waffle House, where Roxy is just chilling alone in a booth, and Tiffany's like, "Can I get you anything?" And she's like, "A scotch." And Tiffany says, "I don't know how you do it." And she was like, "What?" And she was like, "Your job." And I was like, "Oh, so she does fully know everything that they do. Great." She was like, "Because that skinny one came in and was doing lewd things to a piece of coconut cake."
Which was the funniest way to say that.
Yep. And Tiffany reminds her that you don't get to pick your family.
Yep.
Then we go to what, for a second, I was sure was going to be Mason's last scene.
I just put, "Oh no, I will cry."
My note just says, Mason is weird and beautiful and brilliant. I fully blame this man for my standards of relationships.
That is absolutely fair.
Because like, everybody's like, "Oh, your unhealthy obsession with toxic men started when you chose like X over Y and like all these things." And I'm like, no. My problem is that I expect that a man who is like appears to be toxic and is a dirty, grungy rocker guy is actually going to have a soul.
Yeah.
Because Mason is not like the bad boy who talks nasty to you, but like has a secret heart of gold. Like he just is
a
heart of gold, but in a really dirty package. And that's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know anyone like that,
is what she's looking for.
Yeah.
In case you did not hear those words coming out of her mouth, I thought I'd reiterate that for you.
If you know anyone who doesn't shower often and listens to rock music and might take a few too many drugs, but like really, really, really fucking cares, send them my way.
We learn the next episode he can't sing. That's what he tells us.
But so he decides to go for a midnight swim with this camper so that they can die together. And then we have a beautiful shot of lightning hitting the water.
I had such an existential crisis right here. I was just like, if Mason has to go, I was like, I don't know that I'd want him to go any other way, because you want him to go in a blaze of glory. I was like, but I just don't want him to go
naked in a lake with lightning.
With a friend.
Yeah. My next note says, Roxy covers for Daisy, Ray is gone, Mason is not.
Accurate.
So we go to their Waffle House. Roxy and Rube are talking. Roxy tells Daisy she's off the hook because Ray was last spotted in Portland. And so we know that she covered for Daisy. And then Mason appears. And Rube's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, why did you give me a purple Post-it note? And Rube's like, they were out of yellow at the office hut.
And let me tell you, this was surprisingly an excellent plot line for this episode. This is one of my favorite low-key plot lines because it had me twisted through this whole episode. I questioned why it was purple. I was like, I know it's not a famous person. Is it someone that they know? Is that why it's purple? Then when he was talking about being his last day, I was like, is it purple because it's his last day? Then I was like, is it purple because he's telling this guy about being a Reaper? I was like, is it purple because he's transferring to this guy being the new Reaper and it being his last day? And then we get to the end and it doesn't matter. And I was like, that had me like in my thoughts through the whole episode.
I literally
thought
said,
it was so well done.
I literally was like, all that bullshit over a supply chain issue,
Yes.
which it hits me in a different place because of the fact that Scholastic has still not delivered any of my books to the school. Still, I have nothing.
Do you know what day it is? Did they know what day it is?
It is the 100th day of school, and
Yes.
I have no books.
Well,
it's a good thing that I know how to put PDFs on Google Classroom. The kids read the books chapter at a time because
Nice.
I have no books.
Wonderful.
So I have strong feelings about supply chain issues.
I think it's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Then
also, we get a Daisy one-liner here.
oh, do we?
It's very quick, and you may have missed it because I almost missed it. But she's talking about this guy. He's talking about the guy being electrocuted by lightning, and she just says, "Better him than you." And then they all start talking about something else, and I was like, "Okay, Daisy."
No, I was. That's literally what I was.
Was that the next one?
My note just says Daisy does love Mason.
Daisy does love Mason, and I like almost. And this is another thing I think they do well in the show because I know Daisy loves Mason, but they almost convince me every time that she doesn't until they bring it back again. And it's like the only plot lines in the show that matter or that are really well developed are Mason's and Daisy's.
No one else matters.
In there, but no one else's plot line, like no one else's character development is anywhere near where theirs is.
No.
And this show is not about them, and they're the main characters.
I think that the reason the last few episodes have been so good is because they have made it about them because they gave up on making us interested in George.
Because no one cared.
Right.
She is not interesting.
But then basically, Daisy lets Roxy take her on the Reap. I don't remember exactly what she said to Mason to tell him that Roxy knows and everything's taken care of, but she like says something that like gives him a heads up, and then just like
she says, "Tell Roxy thank you."
Oh, she says, "Tell Roxy thank you," and Roxy says, "You're welcome," and then she just like kind of holds his hand for a second and was like, "I'll talk to you later." And then we have a really beautiful moment between Mason and George where Mason's like, "I'm not dead, but I thought I was going to be. So I sold everything and I have no place to live. And I'm kind of a fuck up." And she was like, "I know. And I'm here for you. I got you. I got your back."
This relationship, I wish would have started from the beginning.
I know.
Because truly, for George and Mason is the best storyline for her.
Yes.
And
that's the big brother, the friend, the thing that the one love that she never had.
Yeah, and we didn't really start getting this until Trip's episodes. Like, because that's so late into the game.
Which I totally get, but I also feel like it's because they took too long to let George have feelings.
They did. I agree.
But speaking of George having feelings, the end of the episode is her dropping off a package to her house where Reggie opens it and George gave her her frog.
And she says a line that did get me a little bit. She's talking about hide and seek, and she's like, as a kid, Reggie would close her eyes, and it made her think she disappeared and no one could see her. She said, but when you become an adult, closing your eyes just makes it darker. I was like, that is so true and so sad. So we ended on a happy note, as you can tell. Great show. We're having a good time.
Fantastic. I have so many emotions.
So many.
Oh. Who do you want to punch?
I said, can it be Ray? I said, that's probably not fair. So I guess I'll pick Brian.
I'm gonna... I thought about Ray as a Graveling. I don't know if you can punch a Graveling.
Brian was kind of
a douche.
Mm-hmm. I
Nobody
didn't know
else.
who else had picked them.
I mean, I will say at this point, the end of this episode, I think I still probably would have punched Claire.
That's fair.
I still think that she opened the gate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. How about an MVP?
So this is a bit of a wild card, I think. But I picked Roxy. Because she's very low key in this episode.
But she does big things.
Spends the episode protecting them all.
Yes.
Essentially. And she's what keeps this group together. People like to say it's Rube, but Roxy's what keeps this group together.
Absolutely. But for obvious reasons, because literally my middle name should be Simp, I'm going to pick Mason.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Yeah. Yep. That was weird. I always hate that I don't know how to end the episodes.
Well, also sometimes today they end on such a somber note that it's
this episode started off as by far the funniest episode of the show. Yeah. It was zing after zing, and then by the end of the episode I'd cried 5 times.
Right? And this episode was one of my favorites for sure so far.
Yeah. For sure.
Where it's just gut wrenching when you get to the end. George's monologues have become more important.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the right word, but
more relevant, I think, more poignant.
Poignant. That's the word I was looking for. They've become more poignant. Yep. And it's they matter. And when she starts them, you're watching to see what she's starting with. And then when she ends it, she's bookending it. And I know I said I didn't like the bookend in another episode, but I do like it in this episode. And she just brings it back together, but in such a way that it grips your heart.
Yeah.
And she may not do anything else in these episodes, but her opening and endings tend to bring it together.
Yeah.
So,
well, speaking of openings and endings, just kidding. That was not a segue that I had at all.
Look, it's fine.
You can talk to us on all of the social medias, especially Reddit. Please join our Reddit page about our podcast. Community. That's the thing. I don't know what these things are called.
We don't know Reddit. We're trying.
We're attempting. We're attempting the Reddits. But the people on Reddit seem much more active.
Mm-hmm.
So we like you a lot.
Right.
Yay.
Hello.
Yay. Hello, friends. But so follow us at Death and Aliens everywhere. Send us suggestions. Next.
Well, when this one comes out, I will have posted our top 3 sci-fi picks. And when this comes out next, the following Wednesday, I will be posting our top 3 horror picks, and then they will go head to head in the end.
Yes. And we are very close to making some very big announcements, aka this is almost the end of.
Oh my gosh, this comes out Sunday, so this might be when we should announce what we're planning for next weekend when you're here. We should tell people before it happens.
I guess. Next weekend, Courtney and I will be filming together for the first time ever.
And we may try and go live.
We will try and go live. We're going to try and go live. We're
going to do our best to see what
we don't understand technology.
We don't know social media.
So we'll see.
If we're there, come join us. Love to chat. If we're not there, we're sorry.
Correct. But you can also follow me personally at all of the social medias at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will talk to you on Wednesday/Thursday. I'm going to start Jenna Marblesing the end of these podcasts and be like,
look,
you can see on Wednesday/Thursday because I don't.
No one knows.
Sometimes my life is together.
I'm so sorry. Someone is yelling outside my window, and
I couldn't hear it.
I needed to know if it was like murder yelling or like excited yelling. I think everything's fine.
Perfect. Fantastic. Hopefully. Otherwise, we might not have any more podcasts.
We'll see.
All right. And bye.
Yeah.